Now, the UNA USA, the United Nations Association of the United States of America, is a membership organization, it's a research organization, it's an advocacy organization from the standpoint of helping to inform policymakers and the general public about the role of the United Nations. But your UNAs try to do this in a very objective way. They're not part of the United Nations, you're not organizationally part of the UN, but you try to get out information about the UN and not be a flag waver or cheering team or something like that, do you? I mean, you want people to understand the UN, its strengths and its weaknesses. We do.
And we also can play a very creative role in supporting the particular priorities that the UN declares. Two big priorities at the moment are climate change and human rights. It's the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I'd just like to mention in that context that we've launched the first ever global online interactive dialogue through a website that's been set up for us by the Millennium Project to enable people from all over the world to come and share their ideas about the universality of human rights. We have 12 very good questions, and this is something that I think is going to be of tremendous support to the UN to actually hear firsthand what people in different cultures, different parts of the world from different religions are thinking about these issues, and we share it in a very transparent and open way.
And this would be a great opportunity because it's interactive. This would allow people to share ideas, to pick up new ideas.
That's right.
And where would they go to tap into this? How could we participate in it if we would like to?
Well, it's a website that's been set up called Real Time Delphi, www.realtimedelphi, and there's an access code which your viewers could use, which is HUMRI, H-U-M-R-I, just one word. That will take them to the website.
Okay, so that's www.realmedia.
No, Realtime Delphi.
Realtime Delphi.
Yes, Realtime Delphi.
Realtimedelphi.net.
Yes, .net.
Okay,
yes,
very good. Well, I'm sure many people would like to participate in that.
Well,
and of
I
course,
hope they do.
Yes, most assuredly. And of course, human rights are so important. It's seldom that we read an article about something that's happening, perhaps the genocide in Darfur, or perhaps a tragedy that took place in Myanmar, that you don't have some paragraph on human rights, because that's inherent in that particular problem. So this is extremely important, and hopefully our viewers will tap into this and participate. So
I do hope so.
It's very, very important, yes. Now, you have a very interesting website, and UNA USA has a very interesting website. Where could people go to get more information about both of the organizations?
Well, perhaps our website, because it will give them the link to UNA USA. And it's very simple. It's www.wfuna.org. O-R-G.
Okay, so it's WFUNA.org.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be a great place to go to get more information about this. You mentioned about the upcoming conference, the plenary that will be taking place in Seoul in 2009. What do you think? Now, human rights, obviously this is the 60th anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but what do you think will be some of the other issues that you'll be dealing with? What do you plan to put on the agenda? And I know the agenda is not set, it will evolve, but what are some of the major ones you're looking at now?
They will be the Millennium Development Goals, certainly climate change. We're already very actively engaged with our member UNAs, looking at how to strengthen the role of the United Nations as the key coordinating mechanism for the global response to climate change. We take very seriously Ban Ki-moon's statement that this issue is going to test our generation and it will shape our legacy. And in particular, what he's saying is it's time for new thinking. So we're really looking to our members to be creatively involved with other NGOs, with the business community, with the Global Compact, with all aspects of their own society to appreciate what is going on and what can be fed back to the United Nations. So climate change is a big one. I mentioned disarmament. 2009 is the year before the 2010 NPT review conference, so I imagine we'll have some recommendations going forward to that as well.
You're watching Global Connections Television. The main purpose of Global Connections Television is to focus on international issues that impact people in the United States and around the world. My guest today is someone who's dealing with many of those issues because she heads up the World Federation of United Nations Associations. Pera Wells is the Secretary General of the World Federation of United Nations Association. She's also a former Australian diplomat. Pera has written several publications, one of which is titled We the Peoples 2005, Mobilizing for Change, Messages from Civil Society. Pera, you mentioned the Millennium Development Goals a minute ago, MDGs, if we can use the abbreviated version. What is your book about? How does your book tie into the Millennium Development Goals? And there are 8 of them, but how did you tap into them?
I'm glad you've asked, because I think that this framework for working towards the development of the most impoverished people in the world is one of the most important initiatives that the UN has taken over the last 10 years. It was really launched in 2000 by Kofi Annan in the context of the Millennium Year, and ever since then the World Federation has been actively trying to engage civil society at all levels in understanding what the goals are and in implementing them.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many issues when we talk about the Millennium Development Goals. We talk about children, we talk about poverty, we talk about children who are not being educated, young children, perhaps 7, 8, 9 years old who are not being educated, children who have to work as though they're just part of chattel. They're not. They really have no rights. Children who live in war zones. So these are really critical that we focus on not just children but also adults, women, and of course we're trying to reduce infant mortality rates, trying to help cut abject poverty by 50%. So these are very, very major goals, and they're goals that can be achieved.
Yes.
We know how to do it. That is the important thing. Yes. Now, have you mobilized the UNAs around in your system, over 100 UNAs to be involved in this? Are they all doing something dealing with the Millennium Development Goals?
More or less, yes. The 2005 report you mentioned, in fact, is one of a series of annual reports that we do. We do it in partnership with the North-South Institute in Canada, and we've been producing them every year through till 2007. And what we find is that our United Nations associations use these reports for their own public educational activities. We always have the Millennium Development Goals as the theme of our regional Model UN conferences, and we find it's a fabulous topic for young people aged between, say, 17 to 25 to really understand and engage in, because they can see the impact it will make in their lifetime, and that the more they own the goals and take responsibility when they go back to their country of origin, to see what in very practical ways they can do and which we can support them to do, is leading to a momentum for change. I think the most important thing about these MDGs is it is empowering people to believe that change is possible, and it's dealing with real poverty in the world and saying this is a high priority for the UN, for the World Bank, for all the development agencies.
Now, the United Nations associations, they're open to anyone. There's no age limitation. You don't have to be a member of a political party. You don't have to earn a certain amount. They're open to everyone to participate. But if we could just focus on young people for a moment. So many people bemoan, or perhaps feign bemoaning, the fact that some young people just don't care. They don't get involved in these issues. But do you find that's not the case, that young people really do care about climate change? They care about biospecies loss. They care about polluting their planet. They care about landmines that are killing, or maiming anyway, children in other parts of the world. Do you find that they really buy into these issues?
Yes. In fact, I think the generation that is coming into maturity now is the most exciting generation that human history has ever had. There's an American writer called Kevin Kelly who writes for Wired magazine. He calls them the millennial generation because they've grown up with a level of connectivity through the internet, through ITC, which is unknown, and they know how to use it. And more of them are networking with each other for purposes of cooperation. And they are impassioned about many of these issues, but in a very intelligent way. It's not just a kind of a vague kind of engagement. I find so many of them are practical, they want to get results, and they work together very well in teams. I'm terribly impressed with them. I just think the more we can empower this generation, we're going to see a real change.
Mm-hmm.